Welcome to Agile World Better English. Agile World was created by Sabrina Bruce and Carl Smith to focus on agility within a global community. Steve and I are the newest addition to the Agile World family. I'm Cynthia Kahn, founder of GSD Mindset and Agile Consultancy. My co-host over there, Steve, and I are passionate, somewhere over there, about Agile. Through this podcast, we plan to share experiences of how others apply Agile principles to become successful. So hopefully you too can apply those principles and achieve everything you want. Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Cynthia, and welcome to Agile World. We are here today with Joanne Stone, and I have to tell you guys a little story. You see this silly hat? I know if you're listening to the podcast, you can't see the hat, but I'm wearing a multicolored beanie with a propeller on it and a cutout sign that says Agile World. And I think Carl Smith and Sabrina Bruce are playing a trick on me because Carl said he's sending us hats. And I ain't seen that.
He said that like 10 days ago, right? He just wants you to see like the things in between my headphones that are.
So I took a picture of my hats. If you know me, I always have a hat on. I wake up in the morning, I put on a hat. Sometimes I forget to put on my glasses, but I do put on a hat. And I showed her a picture of all my hats and said, pick out what you want. She chose this hat, multicolored with the beanie on top with the propeller, and told me to cut out the little. So I did, and I thought it was fun. And so this morning, I put on the hat. I got my green screen ready. I got my setup ready. And I realized I wanted to go to the grocery store for something because I didn't have any milk for my granola. So I went to the grocery store wearing this hat. and I thought, man, I look good. I look good because there's some women there coming out of yoga and they're like smiling at me. And I'm like, ooh, I'm looking all.
So. And the kids were like going, wow, can I get one of them?
Yeah, so everybody's making fun of me again, basically. I mean, at the end of the day. But anyway, so today we are here with Joanne Stone. And Joanne, now you and I met because you do some mentorships, some Agile mentorships with the Toronto organization. And through, through social distancing, those things went virtual.
Definitely.
And so immediately you went worldwide with those. And I went through one of the business agility mentorship programs. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So when we started doing the show, I wanted to chat with you and you brought up this concept of wicked problems. So I'm dying to hear about your wicked issues, wicked problems, wicked solutions, and
wicked leaders.
Yes. And it's not Wicked Witch of the West or the Broadway show.
Not wicked good or wicked bad. Wicked, yeah.
So tell us about this wicked stuff that you're doing. It's awesome.
You want to go for that? So listen. The wicked problem is just so that people know what wicked is, because a lot of people might not know what a wicked problem is. But a wicked problem is something that has multiple symptoms. It can't be solved. Like there's not one solution for it. It is something that can be, you have to have many people work together to actually do it, right? And so this is where the Agile stuff comes in for me, because it's a very group collaborative type of thing that has to happen. So examples of wicked problems are climate, poverty. It can be, hold on, there's a few other things which are out
Education for all.
Yes. Racism is another one, right?
Yes, of course.
Like Black Lives Matters, like all of that are just really super complex problems. That is not just one single thing can solve it. COVID, for example, is a huge thing. So I got really passionate about it. I think the passion has been there for a while. I mean, the very first story that I really remember being younger is Apollo 13. If you guys know Apollo 13, Houston, we have a problem, So, what got me really, really interested was actually the group that was on the ground trying to solve the problem for the guys in space. And so it was just like, I just wanted to be in there. I just wanted to be in there, just working together to kind of figure out how to solve this thing. And what they did in 2 days would have typically taken them 3 months to do and change how NASA does innovation at that point in time. So it's so cool. But the after effect is one thing, but during that time when they did it, like could you imagine all of the passion that was in that room? So I love passion. So I'm a pretty passionate person.
No.
And there's something about passion that I love. And what it is, it's just, I love the great conversations. I love conflict. I love,
Okay.
we talk about Italians, right? And how passionate they are in not all Italians. I don't know, but maybe if there's an Italian out
Are
there.
you an Italian representing Italians everywhere?
I know, not people who know Italians, but they can be, in their family conversations, they're yelling and screaming and like whatever, but it's just all from pure love, right? And it's just their expression and passion is just absolutely amazing. And so I love that. I love it when someone stands up for what they are and they stand up for who they are and their impact that they want to have, and their care and their love shows. So there's passion, tons of passion, especially when you talk about wicked problems, right? Like we're passionate about climate, we're passionate about, reducing poverty. We're so passionate about these particular things. And so, yeah, so I dial it like 100. So I get really, really passionate. And it wasn't till like about a year ago that I couldn't figure out like what does passion look like? And when I started being in this agile world, which is so beautiful, it's so amazing, and there's always a story behind that. I have lots of stories, but in that specific particular space, I was able to, and fortunate enough to be able to create great teams, right? And I did it through like great conversations, like how do we work through this conflict, like making sure that everyone was heard, felt like everyone belonged. We had a purpose, so it wasn't just like, oh, we're a happy team. We actually did things right, that was of value. And we did things in small little incremental steps, right? That's what Agile does. And so when you go into the space of Wicked, it's so unknown. Just think of COVID, right? Just think of there's so much unknown, there's so much uncertainty, there's so much everything, right? And so there's this big thing. We just don't know what solution is going to work because there's multiple solutions. So we have to take things in bite-sized pieces, right? So a lot of what we do from an Agile perspective sits in the Wicked world. It really does. And I would say that because I've been doing tons of interviews with different people, and I was talking to a 911 operator from New York State.
Oh, wow.
And she was talking about what they do when there's like a disaster situation. And you're going like, oh my gosh, Apollo 13, what's that look like? So I'm there trying to understand all that stuff from her. But you know what? They have certain plans. They have certain ways that they're doing it, which is really cool. But there is a lot of team dynamics. There's a lot of team stuff that happens in that room so that they can focus on the right thing, right? That's needed at that particular point in time. So there's a lot of unknowns that can come, but there's a lot of knowns, right? So they know how to handle the knowns, and they learn how to do the unknowns. And so from my perspective, I think there's a lot of knowledge that we as Agilists can get from them, but I also think that we've been primed, and what we've been doing can also be ported into the Wicked world as well. And I think we can actually work with a lot of the people in the front lines and all that stuff, because we can look at things in small little steps. We can look at, here, let's do a stand-up every day, right? Okay, what's happening, or every hour, right? Let's retrospect on what we're doing. You know what, we're going to cut through that way, but it's not getting us anywhere. Should we stop and go to this other direction, right? So there's tons of stuff that we actually do from an Agile world that sits in that world. And so I'm really passionate about trying to get those two worlds to meet, to connect. And I think this is the next stage for those who want to. Not everybody's going to want to, that we can actually service our communities and service our, beyond our organizations, or even within our organizations, we can do the same thing. But like, it's just like, I think it's our opportunity to start stepping out and doing that, and doing this for the rest of the world. I mean, to me, it just feels like more hope, right? That we're able to kind of give to our community and to our world with taking our practices there into these wicked problems.
Quick question, just to bring it back a little bit so that people who can relate, like me, there's a lot of people who have wicked problems at work, like organizational things. And so so are you saying that you overlay like say you talked about stand-ups and retrospectives. Are you overlaying the Scrum framework on top of a problem, or tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about like the way that you approach the wicked problems that's a little bit different, or how you're doing it so that maybe somebody can go back to work and approach their wicked organizational problems. Maybe the upper management's not listening, whatever their wicked problem is. It
Yeah.
feels too big for them, but like, how do you get more people involved? How do you expand the Agile framework so that you can?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It's a very good question. So there's what I think when you think of the framework, I think beyond the framework itself. So I do believe though that the practices, some of the Scrum practices definitely are in conjunction with they talk about the way of being, versus doing type of thing. So I think of a lot of who we are and how we put individuals and interactions over processes and tools, right? So I'd rather be talking to folks to find out what's going on and figuring out what has to happen versus putting a process on top of it. But from like a Scrum, if you're looking at a Scrum practice type of thing, if we're trying to reveal the particular problems which are happening, sometimes what we have to do is we have to run little experiments. We have to sense, like using the Cynefin framework, right? It's like a sensing type of framework to sense what the actual problem is. And so this whole scientific experimentation that Scrum stands for, and these small little increments of steps, so you can take that framework or parts and pieces of it to actually validate your learning, understand exactly what is going to be required, learn, does this little piece, this thing that I wanted to do, did that have an effect in the rest of the organization? And did that have an effect with my group? So test it out in small little groups, and small little increments with your specific group. A lot of the stuff that I do is almost like I love for me, teams is a huge thing, right? Just getting everyone to kind of gel together. Like it's a very big thing for me. And with that passion, right? I want that healthy tension where people are able to have these great conversations with each other, because that's where the hidden gem is underneath anything. Is when there's conflict or anything like that, there's something that's there that can help bond and get people understanding, right? So the communication, how we work together, is so super important. And the way that we work together, which is like the Scrum framework with the practices, is super important, right? And it's like the both of them in conjunction are required. So people can pick up the Scrum, right, framework and all that, and it's great, but it's how we communicate together and how we are as a group, as a team, that's going to make the difference. I don't know if that answered your question, but there's just so many different things.
Steve has a question. Steve's
I know.
bursting.
Yeah.
Steve is bursting.
Okay.
Be careful.
I'm really concerned that we're trying to relate this to Scrum, and which
I
is
was just
a
trying to
framework
relate,
and
yeah.
stand-ups, and that's that concerns me a great deal, because I think what we want to focus on is really the heart of Agile and the Agile concepts and the principles, which is, we know that we don't know everything yet, but let's focus on the outcomes and let's start trying to achieve those outcomes. And I think with the Apollo 13 example that you used, one of the things that we wanted to focus on was, what is the problem that we're having and how can we solve it quickly? We know we can't spend the next 3 months planning like we normally do, or the next 3 years. We've got to get to it. So we have to continuously focus, and we have to implement our little experiments and keep getting closer and learn as we go, so we can achieve better outcomes, which is really what agility is about. So it doesn't, so frameworks concern me when we get that discussion. So let's talk about how the agility principles and practices, or even if we need to, when did you decide, or when did you realize that these principles and practices could be applied to these big problems, these big wicked problems?
That became aware to me when we started to get into more unknown and more uncertainty. So there's a huge connection with wicked problems because of the uncertainty and the unknowns, right? And so the more that you dived into understanding wicked problems of the world and what people have been trying to do for it, the way that they've addressed it, you can see they address it in a very iterative and incremental way. So there's a really cool video, actually. Maybe I can give you guys the link. It's a guy, his name is Jose Andres. He does the World Kitchen, Central World Kitchen, I think it is. Yeah, there's a video of him in Haiti, I think after the Haiti hurricane. And I was showing it actually to some people in the workshop I was doing about Wicked and Agile. So the cool thing was, if you watch the video, like, he did no planning coming into it, no planning whatsoever. And he basically came in and he just went down there. He brought the planning he did have. He knows his essentials. He knows he needs to bring certain things into the community to cook all these meals. But he would get there and then he would bring in the community and start rallying around what they need to do. But he would do it in small little steps. Right. So if you watch the video, you see that first, like, he'll create enough food for, like, it'll create like 2,000 sandwiches or 1,000 meals or whatever the case may be. It's small. And then he goes to the next step, right? And then he goes, okay, I've tested, this works, right? And then he's gone to the next step and he brings in, more, and he brings in more locals to kind of help him do the next step. And then he keeps going on and on. And then on top of it, he tries to create sustainable, like, it's this, the sustainable pace, hello, like the principles that we have, he's trying to keep it sustainable. So he actually helps the farmers and stuff like that grow actually food that will create sustainability in Haiti. And so because most of their food was actually shipped out, right? So they are imported in. So they had to learn how to start growing it locally. But it's interesting when you watch the video, he has a board, he has a visible, transparent board, and he's writing down all this stuff. He has stand-ups, right? Yeah. So when you start to look at those particular examples of some of these amazing, amazing people, right? They're using the techniques that we have. It's all common sense. And how much have we said that this is common sense, right? But we're trying to take these practices and bring it into our businesses, but there's people that are out there that just do it just naturally, right? But what we're doing as Agilists, we're trying to kickstart the world and kickstart our organizations just to go back to that state, which is a lot of common sense. Take it small. We don't know. It's a complex place. Let's do 2-week sprints, right? Let's do stand-ups. Let's figure out what is the most important thing. Apollo 13, they had many systems that shut down. Mm-hmm. Which system did they pick first, right? They picked the most important system that will help support the next system.
There we go.
So Agile, it just makes sense. That's our little byline, right? Do I have to say any more? Where's my mic?
Drop the mic. Hold on, I got a mic over. No, but it's so hard, right? I think we have to unlearn ourselves, unlearn what we've learned, right? Like Absolutely. A lot of we've learned all these processes. We've learned this chain of command and control. We've learned that we're told what we need. We and now all we're doing is we're trying to unlearn this. And that's why I think the Agile and Agile Manifesto and the Scrum framework and these other frameworks are helping to do is empower the peoples, empower the teams to make the decisions. And we know that how important that is, that self-organization is, right? And yeah, you see it out there these wicked examples, you totally see what these men and women are doing. And it's just amazing. Small little steps, common sense.
Small little steps. Focus on the main goal, right? Continue to learn as you go. Like with COVID, you brought up COVID as a wicked problem. And I know the pharmaceutical companies did not spend 3 years planning what to do and how to do, right? So they had to jump in and start doing these small little experiments as they go. And finally we got the vaccines. Yeah. And so if I understand you correctly, what we're saying is we can apply those same principles, those small learning cycles, accepting that what we don't, and accepting that what we thought we knew 2 weeks ago is not what we know today. So we need to pivot and change, and making sure we're focusing on the right outcomes.
Yeah, and so many people and so many organizations have done really well. They pivoted and changed, and they continued on. And like I know there's an organization, Napoleon. Oh my gosh, I love their barbecues. Oh my, if they're watching this, I love you guys. They actually stopped their actually production of barbecues. I know because mine came 6 months late. They stopped their production of barbecues so that they could pivot their work so that they could create a face mask. Right.
Oh,
And
cool.
so they could, and then they shifted back, right, to where they are, but the organization pivoted. Some organizations were unable to do so for whatever type of reasons. I felt really bad for them, but they were unable to pivot. Right.
Mhm.
And boy, if we were able to kind of take this as an example, COVID as an example, and go out there and start sharing and just working with our local people, like, let's just put a sticky up there. Let's just start having conversations. Let's just like, what do we want to do this week? What's the most important thing that we need to do? Right. How do we know that's the most important thing that we need to do? Right. Like, how can we kind of like create the backlog so we learn from it? And then, we can figure out what the next and most important thing is. Right. Yeah, there's so much.
There is. Now, at some point, maybe I don't know if this happened to you, but I know with Cynthia and I, we both were doing things, making big plans, being involved with big plans, waterfall process, and that can work for some things very
Yes.
well. However, you eventually get to a point to where you're working with technology, you're working with unknowns, and suddenly you realize, oh, we can't plan everything out. We have to constantly learn as we go. We have to constantly, challenge our beliefs as we
Yeah.
go forward so we can move faster. When did that happen to you? Did you have a moment, an aha moment in
And
your
I,
journey?
yeah.
Like I'm wicked and I'm never going back. I'm going wicked. I'm taking the
Here you're
wicked.
asking me to go back there. Well, there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do remember having to kind of let go hugely, right? And with my plan of how this, so I was doing a transformation at a lovely company. I love it. I was born and it raised me. It's called TELUS. It's a telecommunication company in Canada. So I was part of I was heading up their agile transformation. And so that was just so much fun. Right. And so, you're going to like 500 or so people and you're trying to do the training for them and you've got the plan and you're going to have to do it. And of course, you're not trying to plan in an agile way, right? You're trying to do baby steps and all that kind of stuff. And so in one of those instances, one of the guys was just like, no, I don't want any of your training. No, I can do my own. Like one of the directors. No, I don't need your stuff. No. I have my own trainer. I have my own thing and my own, and I'm like going, oh, and so at that point in time, I was going, holy, sorry.
You get to say it, so that's good. We're good. Good.
Okay, we're good. And so, and it became like this gut feeling. It was just like, no, but the plan is that everybody has to do it this way. Like we all kind of like, no, like this, and this huge, and it was just like, and it became like, I can't plan everything. Right. And if I think I'm going to plan out what everybody wants and needs, I don't know what everybody wants and needs. I have no clue. I know ultimately the organization would like this because they're like a waterfall organization. Of course, everybody does the same plan, does the same. We want to be consistent. We want to be common, like, right. But, in the end, it was just like I had to really I had to totally shake that off because I had a leader that was trying to push me one way and that leader was trying to push me the other way. But it became like, oh my gosh, like I cannot predict. Like it's just and it's the more that I held on to things like that, the more I felt so icky inside. Right, I was fighting against it, and the only way I could survive is let go. Right, so you just kind of have to let go of these things, right?
Well, the
So
some people will follow, and then as they see that you succeed, I guess it's lead by example, meet people where they are. And then at some point, I mean, that aha moment where you're like, I can't save everybody, but maybe
yeah,
saving the people who are following me or whatever, listening to me will
yeah,
lead by example. And then
yeah.
things like, then it will they'll be like, oh, well, maybe it isn't so bad or
Yeah.
whatever, you know.
Well, yeah.
Everybody goes through those aha moments where you have to, oh, self-organizing actually means something, or you're going to let people make their own decisions. Because in the beginning, we're so used to, here's how you're supposed to do it, and everybody's going to do it, and this is how we're going to roll it out, and this is the plan. And
Yeah.
I mean, we all have that same aha moment where, oh, this is what it means to be a servant leader, you know, like let people make their own decisions.
Well, it's interesting. Like, so it's funny. What you brought up for me is that uncertainty every single time I go into a new client, because I'm an independent consultant, right?
Right.
So when I go into a new client, I go, oh, I have no clue, right? And it again, it's like, oh my gosh, I need to have this, I need to have that, or whatever the case may be. I need to know what the client wants or whatever. I got to listen to them, and so. But a lot, there's still the uncertainty as to how it's actually going to work or how it's going to unfold. Right. And even though you want to meet the client where you're at, you're going like, no, I stand for this common sense. You know,
Agile, it's just
right.
common sense.
And I stand for this thing, but you want this. I don't think that's going to work, but I'm going to follow you for a bit. But eventually I'll kind of go, I put my stake down. That takes a bit of time. But yeah, at the very beginning, as I go into these places, there's always so much uncertainty. And the more that you can kind of let go of knowing what you think the solution is going to be, just go in there. I would sit there and say, though, go in there with the hope, right? Go in there with this, there's a dream that you have, right? A dream that you'll have for that team or for that organization or for whatever it is. So you hope that they're going to make it to this thing. You hope that they're going to adopt business agility. Come in there with at least that because that's like your wish for them. But as it may kind of like go all over the place, but eventually maybe it might head there. But there's a lot of unknowns there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think as long as we continue to help organizations and understand this is the outcome, this is the problem that we're trying to solve, this is the wicked problem that we're facing.
Right.
And if we continue to do things the way that that got us here, it's not going to help, right? So we need to constantly reevaluate and challenge our own beliefs and our own thinking.
Well, and this is where I think of wicked leaders, right? And I think of wicked teams. So, I know wicked good, wicked bad. Like me, it's all wicked good. Like there things can happen in there, but I want that passion. I want that healthy tension. I want that, I want them to go in there really kind of, they don't have to love each other. I'm not looking for that, but I'm looking for people who have really great communication skills, right? And understand that this is the thing that they're trying to solve for. But it requires also people who understand their self, Steve. Like it's this requirement of, this is what I believe in. Right? This is who I am. This is what I stand in. And it requires someone to have a vision and a purpose, right? And it requires someone to sit there and, yep, I want to hold the space. I want to have some of that servant leadership stuff, but then I still stand for something that I want this team to be with me with, right? So leaders can only be leaders if people follow them. They can't claim that they're a leader, right? The only way that I'm a leader is if someone's following me, right? And from that regard, then that person has to stand for something that everyone else believes in and wants to be part of, right?
So what does wicked, when you're looking at this whole wicked world and trying to solve these wicked problems, what does wicked Joanne stand for? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Oh, maybe
it's a great, I think I'll have to sit there and say, like I have utmost respect for people. But I truly believe that everybody has a purpose or reason of being. So they have a North Star where they want to go, right? And that if they are fully aligned to that, the more impactful they're going to be, right? And that takes a bit of work to kind of do, to kind of get to that place where all of a sudden you're not questioning yourself or you're doubting yourself. And that's really quite normal. But you need to work on yourself first to kind of get to that state so that you're fully present and you make that particular impact. So I really know that like when you're in this state, fully aligned to who you are, fully aligned to your, you're free to make the choice, right? Of where you want to go, right? And yep, this is what I want to do, or this is not what I want to do. Right. So my true belief is that everyone has that capability. Everyone has that inner wicked passion. Right. and they have that capability to be a part of something that's great, that's bigger than them, a wicked problem or a wicked team, right? So that, like, that's what I truly believe in. And I know that together we can do amazing things. And what I look at it, it's hope, right? Creating hope for the rest of the world, for humanity, and what we can do. So there's so much more that's there. But yeah, I would sit there and say, and of course there has to be fun, laughter. I stand for laughter. That is required as well. That's and hugs.
Oh, I miss the hugs. I miss the hugs.
Oh,
I'm a hugger, and that's been a challenge. But I like what you put there, that you have to have fun, because if we are focusing on wicked problems and we're constantly challenging our own beliefs,
right,
it's going to be extremely stressful, right? So
yeah.
if we don't, have some fun with it, we're going to be in deep trouble. So
It's the
absolutely.
resilience aspect, yeah, for sure. And the same thing goes with our agile teams, right? Like, just think of like, and then when COVID started to happen, I could feel that pressure coming in on everybody, and just that it was a huge issue, right, in terms of people showing up at work. It's hard for them. They're so distracted. Things are going around, and how do we get them? How do we allow them the space to be who they are during all these times, and still move forward towards doing what we need to do? And that, yes, we need to be able to kind of create that space and create that ability to have that resilience within our teams, to do that. So, and that again, it comes down to kind of working and having conversations with each other, care for each other, empathy with each other, connect with each other. I know it sounds like a lot of like, but and I like to have that, and with the fact that we're going here, like, we're going to deliver this thing, right? So how we work is really important.
Right. This is our goal. This is our plan. If our plan doesn't get us our goal, we need to rethink our plan, right? Not rethink the goal.
Yeah. And understanding that everyone, and the whole thing of each person understands why they're there and what they're doing, right? So role definition, like all that stuff. And like they know that they're, providing value, right? So that, as an agile coach, I'm always looking at that, right? I'm looking at, okay, all the people, do we all know why we're here? Do we know how we're working? Okay, here's Scrum, here's Kanban, here's Scrum Ban, here's here, whatever that thing is that they feel most comfortable with. I'm not stuck in this framework or that framework. It doesn't matter to me. It's a way of gelling them together. It's a way of bringing them all together so they can make common sense again. So it's like, but it's like, that's, all that together. I don't know where I'm going. I'm heading off in another direction, I'm sure. But I just, all this together, I think.
Come back.
There we go.
I'm bringing you back.
Thank you.
Cynthia's pulling you back. Joanne, thank you so much. Cynthia, how are we doing on time?
I think we're over, but if there's any final parting gifts or suggestions that you want to give, some wisdom, of course, right?
Some wicked wisdom.
Gifts of wicked wisdom.
That we can do this all together, guys. Like, we can make a difference in this world. Agilists, wicked problems, we can do it. We can make a difference. It just takes us to kind of walk into that space, right? To go out there. So bring all your tools. Cynthia, come with me. Bring all your tools in your bag.
I'm coming.
Bring them along. Right?
I am there.
Right?
Call me.
Bring all of our behaviors, our team dynamics, our principles, and our common sense.
Agile common. It's common.
Agile common sense. And like, bring it, right? Bring it. We can make a difference. We really can. So
absolutely. Now, where can people find out more about Joanne Stone and her wickedness? Her wicked solutions. So.
I wish I had the site up yet, but actually the website's called Get Wicked, but it's not set up yet. So I'm hoping by the end of the month. Anyways, so basically LinkedIn is the best place to find me. Yeah. So I'm from Toronto, Canada. So Agile coach.
You're way up north there.
Way up north, eh?
Mm-hmm. So LinkedIn is a great place to find Joanne Stone, and then Get Wicked. Is it getwicked.com?
No, the site hasn't opened yet. So go to LinkedIn first.
Go to LinkedIn, look up Joanne Stone, and
Yeah,
eventually there'll be a Get Wicked thing. And she is the
Yeah.
Joanne Stone from Toronto.
Toronto.
And she's awesome. So, and you can also reach out to Cynthia Kahn or Steve Mowbray, and we'll hook you up.
Thank you so much,
Now,
guys.
do you have a mentorship coming up again?
A mentorship program? Yes, my Agile mentorship program is going to be kicking off in the fall. So notes will be coming out in August. And so we're going to change it up a little bit, probably around themes. So we have business agility as a theme. And so the team is working together as to what the other themes are. We used to do beginner, advanced, and intermediate, and brought the community together. Had over 500 people who've actually joined over the last 5 years. And it's just, in the last time it was 70. It was all virtual across the world. So it was so beautiful. We create small little teams and little learning backlogs. And it's so much fun. It's backed by Agile and Common Sense.
Agile is common.
There you go. So you're coming up with a wicked solution for a wicked problem. So
Yeah.
absolutely love that. So thank you so much, Joanne. Cynthia, any parting words?
Well, Agile World is everywhere you want to be. We're on all the social media sites, Joanne. So like when you're posted, you can tell people to look on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and even Tumblr if people have a blog out there. And the video version is going to be on our website, agile-world.news, and on YouTube, our YouTube channel. The podcasts are available on Spotify, Apple, Google, Pocket Casts, Anchor, Breaker, and Radio Public. So I'm sure that your friends can find you. And if they can't, you can email me, Cynthia at agile-world.news, or Steve
at Agile.
Steve at Agile. So there's no excuse not to come back, if you have any suggestions, if you think that you would make a great guest, let us know. Don't be out there. You might have another wicked problem or a wicked solution or a wicked idea of your own that we'll want to hear, and everybody else will want to hear too, right?
That's awesome. Well, thank you. And it's Agile World News. Okay. A friend of mine actually has the Agile World podcast.
Not to be confused with.
So it was kind of funny to run into that. But anyway, Joanne, thank you so much. You were wonderful. Absolutely love hearing from you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful day.
Okay. Are we ready to do our thing? Ready?
Yeah. See ya.
Okay. See you.
All right. Bye, guys. Bye. Whoa, wait, where are you going? Wait, where'd you go?
Are you still
there?
Oh.
God. All righty. That was awesome.